Woof woof. Hello everyone, Shufflewuff here with a long-awaited video. Since preparing to start this channel back in late 2024, I have been listening to hundreds of furry albums trying to figure out my favorite of the year. For those who are new, one of my first videos was a top 15 list of my favorite furry EPs of 2024. After months of deliberation, I am happy to say I have finally completed my final 2024 list. This is the official Shufflewuff Top 30 Furry Albums of 2024. Better late than never. To elaborate on what projects are eligible for this list, I am defining an album as any project that has 9 or more tracks, or is over 30 minutes in length. I scoured every corner of the furry music scene that I could, trying to find albums released in 2024. This is my personal top 30, so if you see yourself here, I see you as having made outstanding work that deserves the extra praise. Congratulate yourself for having made a wonderful body of work. Of course, if you are an artist who released an album last year and you do not see yourself here, please do not be discouraged. Furry music was huge in 2024 and I had so much fun listening to what the community had to offer. You are still part of something great, and you should be proud of having created a whole album. It is a huge undertaking. Without further ado, let us begin at my number 30 spot, which I am giving to Goodnight Girl with her album, WANNABE. This is a bright and playful album that combines electronic, hyperpop, and indie pop influences, providing lots of commentary about trans life and self-exploration. It is a bit DIY, but it is full of charm. I love a mix of electronic bangers and acoustic-leaning ballads like the lyrically memorable Verbs in I.O. and Dream Ditch, featuring Jill Malone. This album really shines when it comes to the ideas being put into it. There is lots of good songwriting at its core, plus some good experimentation with the electronics. Ashley 9 Lives add some bright, playful production to real voice and the insane breakdown in the latter half of At the End of Everything, featuring Doodled. Lots of fun. At number 29 we have Muffin Fox with Lost Inside My Head. This is a DIY punk and Midwest emo album full of creative themes ranging from wanting to be someone's dog, to playing a quirked-up white boy character, to more political discussion on the back end. Muffin Fox has a great sense of fun, especially on the non-serious interludes. All over this project you will find strong melodies, chuggy distorted guitars, and emo vocals, like on the fun, quirked-up white boy. I Wanna Be Your Dog 1 has some great commentary on dysphoria, while Mega Huge Walls, TV, tyrannical voices, and cracked pavement testimonies comments on America's politics and radical viewpoints with a very Green Day flavor. This album manages to be a great time while making some potent points. At number 28 we have Life on the Island with Bird Worship. This is an indie rock album with a pleasant fullness to its sound, ranging from guitar-focused instrumentals with huge rock appeal, like on the intro, to softer rock cuts. While there is a nice instrumental variety, they are usually pretty tender, with lyrics that read like short poems. I love the title track, Bird Worship, as a smoky, slow-paced rock cut with lyrics about grief. Tiny Moon is a light and poetic track, with its flutes and acoustics working beautifully with the harmonies. Lights in the Sky ends the album on a high, with its love-themed lyrics adorned by sweet guitars and horns. A neat little rock album all around. At number 27 we have Stomach Book with Sophomore Slump Called Hump. You could describe this album with terms like explosive, busy, and frantic, but one thing is for certain, it is a fun time if you like your music noisy. This is an alternative rock album that feels influenced by multiple genres, particularly J-rock and hyperpop. Expect potent lyrics, paired with aggressive drums and vocals that are sometimes pitched up, usually screamed. I like how unafraid to experiment Stomach Book is. Usually they're giving us abrasive bangers with strong choruses like on Casket Kids, Metanoia, Devil Nobody, and Tragedy. But there's some cuts that focus on being more low-key. I also love Anarchy for its fun MIDI-like synth refrain. The loudest album on this list, for sure. At number 26 we have Spaceman with Lost in Space. This is an experimental prog metal record with crazy guitar riffs from front to back. Generally, this album is very guitar-focused and multi-phased, with some experimental vocal deliveries here and there. We even dip into a vaporwave and ambient vibe at points. I appreciate Spaceman's efforts to be weird, like on the mind-bending Lost in Space, with its impressive instrumentals and energy. Schizo irony makes for the strongest banger here, with its lively and loud metal instrumentation and vocals. From Outer Space serves as a great multi-phased prog metal closer, too. This is just Spaceman doing his thing, and I love to hear it. At number 25 we have Robin's Ghost teaming up with Kerwin to give us Tag 2 Looks Who Do Fuck All. This is a short but fiery rap album that features a collection of dark, loungy instrumentals. The bangers are short and soft, mixing confident flex tracks and more emotional and thoughtful ones. There is great personality and nonchalant flows coming from both Robin and Kerwin, like on Ouroboros, which is a great jazz-inspired flex track. Michael 02 gets funkier with a great feature from I Love You So Much. When it comes to the more serious tracks, Please Implode right now discusses self-loathing. Dusak gets more emotional with a bluesy piano and horn instrumental, and In the Loop serves as the clearest political statement on the record. They play with a dance beat on the closer, ending things with a bang. Nice job to both collaborators. At number 24 we have another rap album, ctrlkitty's SKMCORE. This is a collection of short bangers with a focus on distorted and glitchy loops, the songs often being flex or diss tracks. The quality here is consistently good, especially when it comes to Kit's sick deliveries, like on the aggressive Go Away or the funny and flowy Get Rich Quick, any percent run. Kit gets more introspective on Rap Like I Made It, describing her insecurities while working through her issues. I also cannot go without mentioning some of the coolest production and distortions on What You Want, as well as the triumphant closer, Destiny. Killer stuff. At number 23 is Furry Loser with Painting Clouds and Mountaintops. This is an alternative bedroom rock album with plenty of character and a lot for narrative. Each song plays out like a charming little story. Furry Loser's style of storytelling tends to be pretty direct, but there is so much quirk and fun implemented in a way that feels rustic and heartfelt. Generally, these songs feel upbeat and play, with plenty of harmonies and guitar work. I enjoy the warm, acoustic heavy cuts like the pensive, Maybe Everything Is Alright, the love-focused Critter song, the fantastical In the Land of Funny Animals, and the adorable Skater Love Story. The whimsy continues on the accordion-heavy instrumental, eerie theme. Furry Loser even tries some bedroom pop and dance styles, like on the brassy Cliché, which tells the story of a flying dog, and Ghost Kisser, which is about kissing ghosts. Such an endearing record. At number 22 is I Love You So Much with Making Money in Weird Ways. This is an album full of fun, braggadocious rap, even veering into a dance vibe at points. Illy's humorous and fiery personality shines through her killer flows and lively deliveries, pairing well with how mean a lot of the beats are on this thing. Tracks that come to mind include the opener, The Picture, Became Quite Clear, Saturn Ultra, Official, and Shagillionaire. The flows and production go off. Illy loves to switch things up though, giving us more jazz rap vibes on I Care, and Penn and Teller, a dance vibe on Get My Dick Sucked, and even a bit of a hyper-pop leaning on the mega fun closer, All My Friends Are Lame As Fuck. I always love to hear Illy in her comfort zone, what a treat. At number 21 is Keep It Together with Gate 23. Here we get very chill indie rock vibes from front to back, combining soft and distorted vocals with emotional, personal, and vivid storytelling. I love the easygoing vibes on the emo, late-night TV, the pretty spectrophobia with its nice touches of banjo and melodica, the multi-phased slow burner, everything did work, the wonderfully story-driven stoplights, and the acoustic heavy soft rock cut, major minor. Along with how gentle and laid back a lot of the instrumentals here feel, I love this album for its consistency and quality. Solid work. At number 20 is When Snakes Sing with Songs from a Broken Line 2. This is a collection of high-quality rock covers, Snakes performing songs from the 70s all the way to 2022. We get a wide range of artists too, including Nirvana, David Bowie, Cat Stevens, Coldplay, and Black Sabbath. All throughout we are getting great acoustic performances, paired with intimate vocals, sometimes with some soft electric guitars sprinkled in. My personal favorites are Under the Milky Way, Could Never Be Hidden, Father and Son, Boys in the Street, The Man Who Sold the World, and Where Did You Sleep Last Night? This is the only covers album I am including on this list, but it is here for a reason. Snakes does a killer job. At number 19 is Lilybug with From the Sea to the Stars. This is an ambient electronic album which often infuses dubstep, pop, and rock influences. I find Lily's sound to be very Porter Robinson-esque for fans of that sort of sound. The acoustic guitar and pretty electronic flourishes feel huge all over this thing, like on the organic and acoustic lead, Little Light. The livelier and more drum-focused tracks like The Calling and Something Missing serve as some of my favorite bangers here, while multi-phase tracks like Luna's Lament and Lighthouse play out as some of the more dynamic and epic highlights. I appreciate how soft this one feels while still managing to be exciting. At number 18 is Lil Moon with Opal. This is a rap album with plenty of jazz and lo-fi elements. Huge props to this one for its straight flows and writing from front to back, its great features, and how openly trans it is. I adore how otherworldly it feels on tracks like Ladybug Mecca, Amethyst, and Stormy with their very surreal instrumentals. This album gives us variety with a late-night jazz and funk direction on tracks like Tropicana Cookies and Perfect, as well as the brighter jazz influence on Star Fox. I also love how lively the beat of the closer is. This is my rap album of the year. It is so unique and memorable even just from a sonic perspective. At number 17 is This is The Glass House with 867. This is a progressive rock album which focuses on evocative storytelling, especially when it incorporates spoken word elements. The vocals here are a major highlight, as well as how notably dynamic the tracks are with their detailed horn sections. The bold brass and lush strings pair beautifully on tracks like Streetlight by Streetlight, Southpaw, and Seven Bass Lorne. I also love the poetic writing and rhythm guitar switches on the multi-phase January, and who can forget the dynamic and magical compositions of strings, flutes and horns on October. This album really swirls around you in a slow-burning way. Definitely give this one a shot if you like organic and substantive composition. At number 16 is Nuzaji with Kiss Anime. This album is full of hyperpop and EDM influences, usually incorporating an image and heat-like vocoder like on the slow-burning intro, Crashing Cars, Prologue. Songs like Kiss Anime and Recovery Bangs go for a more danceable hyperpop palette, while Soft Boys with Strange Fantasies plays it calmer with its touching lyrics, music box, and swelling electronics. Do not let the sugary sound fool you, though this is definitely one of the darkest albums of the year, lyrically. All across this project, Nuzaji is going deep into topics like dysphoria, fetishization, parental issues, and sexual views. Some of the most heartbreaking lyrics appear on the chiptune lead, Disappointing, and the emo guitar and bell synth lead, I Don't Feel Safe Here. What a potent and beautiful body of work! We are finally in the top half of this list. At number 15 is Monday 9 with A Bucket of Soil. This is an adorable Japanese indie singer-songwriter album that is fun from the moment you hit play. The acoustic folk vibes and sweet melodies of track 1 serves as a great tone setter for how upbeat this project is, and the sunny rock vibes on tracks 3, 5, and 8 only continue the cheeriness. Monday 9 also includes some ballads here, like track 4, with its slow acoustics and nice group vocals, as well as track 6, with its sweet lo-fi characteristics. As a bonus, we even get some hardcore folk on track 10, which features some very charming woodwinds. This whole album feels extremely warm, like a hug from a friend. At number 14 is Sam Lurk with A Lonely Sinner. This is an ambient rock album that takes a lot of inspiration from genres like prog and drone. One of its most appealing characteristics is just how organic and serene it sounds, especially when it comes to the vocals, which, might I add, are some of the softest vocals you will hear all year. The song, Furelia, serves as one of this album's many slow burners, with its otherworldly pads and guitars. I adore the glitches and crushes in the production. We also get lyrics discussing LGBT phobia on Sinner, which is opened up a few minutes in by huge guitars and capped with arca-esque pads at the end. I love the straight-up rock influence on the dynamic chic theme as well. Dotted throughout, I do feel a bit of a Volnicora-era Deerk note for fans of that album. Shout out to the string-heavy, hyper-ballad cover nested in 4M2. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. At number 13 is DJ Recode with ReVertPunk. This is a beat-heavy electronic album chock full of genre influences, from rock, to dubstep, to gabber, to hardcore. Expect loud, huge, distorted production that will punch you repeatedly with its many twists and turns. Right from the get-go we are getting twisted gabber and rave moments on Black Bunny, breakbeat and metal on Bloodbox, and an experimental electronic, almost reggaeton, beat on Aaron. Things get even more insane with the gabber moments on both the monstrously heavy Spira and the dynamic and metal-influenced Methuselah. I also have to give a nod to just how great the features are here. Recode even getting underscores in the mix on the heavy and multi-phased Prodigal. An explosive project all around, definitely a serve for electronic fans of all stripes. At number 12 is Glass Beach with Plastic Death. This dreamy alternative rock album goes for very poetic and abstract lyrics, as well as extra creative instrumentals, and it does it all with style. I appreciate the ambition in the dynamic vocal performances and adventurous compositions, like on the opener, Coelegance, with its winding pianos and ever-building electric guitars. We get plenty of fun chord passages and guitar-led grooves on tracks like Motions, Cul-de-sac, and Puppy. The CIA gets even more creative, giving us one of the craziest outros on the whole record. Of course, this album has calmer highlights like Guitar Song, an acoustic-led rock song with a great vocal melody. 200 is a pretty piano ballad which gets grand when the brass and electric guitars kick in, and Abyss Angel makes for a good outro, it being a tender piano and acoustic ballad. Such impressive music, what an adventure! At number 11 is Violet Pony with Monarch of Monsters. Sonically, this behemoth of an album is giving us very bright fusions of metal, prog, and pop, with high-quality vocals that reflect all three at different points. If there is one thing you will come away with after listening to this record, it is its intense emotions and viscerally dark lyrics, as this album focuses hard on raw and poetic storytelling. Each song flows into the next, starting off with a hearty pop and rock banger, Test. From here, the album attempts a myriad of rock and pop subgenres. The harrowing, play dead, channels an underscore sort of swagger while combining dubstep and rock. Survivor's Guilt is an off-kilter pop and punk crossover. The Wallflower Equation is a multi-phased prog cut with spoken word and country elements. Princess Cuckoo is a brooding experimental rock track with terrifyingly blunt lyrics. Revenge Fantasy goes between rock and delicate flute-led sections. Huntress is a piece of lush, atmospheric art pop with pretty flutes and horns. And Rest Now, Little Wolf is one of the best closing tracks of the year with its goosebump-inducing pianos, vocals, and lyrics. Violet was even so generous to offer us the 22-minute track, Sludge, which is definitely daunting, but I cannot help but admire the ambition. This massive project offers so much, and it absolutely deserves the success it has seen during its run. Now it is time to count down our top 10 spots. So exciting! At number 10 is Spring Silver with Don't You Think It's Strange? This is an alternative rock album with emo and prog notes, full of great hooks, lively performances, and fun production. The nearly 8-minute Gold Star features dynamic phases while still managing to be an exciting earworm. The bouncy and well-written, it's imperative, has funky performances all around, especially with the guitar work. The catchy, the utility models, features dark, gritty guitars, paired with dramatic vocals. She Transports Me features stirring guitars, ending in a direction that almost reminds me of Blonde Redhead. The Closer, How Quaint, is full of quirky, dynamic songwriting and deliciously distorted drums that play really well into it. I love this album, it is so bustling and colorful. At number 9 is Plasma Cutter with 3 swords and potions and crystals and sweet tea and flowers and spell scrolls and drawings of dogs and some songs. This is an album full of rock and chiptune crossovers, going for a bright video game OST-like style that Anamanaguchi lovers would definitely enjoy. The chiptune synths are a prominent element throughout the entire record, and they sit well with the guitars, even on tracks like I Didn't Write This For Your Blog and Harathgar Dating Sim Quick Time Event, where Plasma tries a light metal direction. Tracks like Getting Loser, No Items Ever, L plus Ratio plus Touch Grace plus Maidenless, Tony Hawk's Existential Nightmare, and The Great Expedition are a great testament to how Plasma keeps the chiptune and guitar fusions consistently exciting throughout. Extra kudos to Midlife Crisis Any Percent Speedrun for having one of the catchiest melodies. This album is just constant dopamine. I love it. At number 8 is Starkeeper with Images 2. This is a classical and orchestral album that is lush, dreamy, and detailed. All over you will hear great dynamics and pretty movements, like on Skygazer and Ballad to the Sunrise, where Starkeeper pairs lush orchestra and dreamy pianos beautifully. The strings get some good spotlight on Borrow His Scarf and the equally pretty This Little Death. There are multiple tracks where more unique instruments are played with, like on Evocation of Soup, where we hear more folksy percussion, Dancing Leaves, where we get lush horns and woodwinds, and Float Above the Water, where we hear a mix of different bell sounds, as well as the incorporation of straight-up water sounds. Starkeeper's compositional skills are proven again and again throughout this project, the magical orchestra incorporating some jazz influence on Somewhere You've Never Been, and the Closer, Stars Keep Me Company. Such well thought out compositions. Definitely try this out if you like lush instrumentals. At number 7 is Deerxing with Sutured Self. This is a chamber folk record filled with well-crafted lyrics, often to do with theory and self-discovery. This album's sound palettes are downright magical, like on the serene intro, another form with its entrancing chamber strings, the adventurous creature feature, which soars and builds on itself, and Ivy Drip, whose pianos and magical flourishes reminds me of the type of chamber production Spelling might be singing over. The piano-led treble is a bit of an anti-folk diversion with a 90s indie vibe, topped off with an interesting alarm sound refrain. Mirage Mirror is another standout moment, starting with pretty vocals and a uniquely rhythmic beat, and ending with some banging EDM influence. Similarly, the predominantly a cappella track, Bright, concludes with a fast beat, but this one feels way more organic, with its chamber inspiration. The closing track, Building, is a swirling piano and string ballad, and the gorgeous ode to theoryism and self-acceptance. Such an ornate and whimsical body of work. At number 6 is Betu with Not a Furry Album Cover. This is an indie synth-pop record, characterized by its 80s aesthetics. While this is a shorter album and it feels somewhat DIY, it is fiery, from start to finish with insanely pleasant harmonies, a great sense of fun, even in its saddest moments, and absolutely banging hooks. While hard to pull off, this certainly applies to slower tracks like the twinkly, Falling Apart, the spacious, Cry on My Own, and the super smooth, Alone, all of these being well-crafted hops, with beautiful synths and harmonies I cannot get enough of. Of course, there are more energetic cuts like Ours, whose infectious synth horn refrain is the cherry on top to Betu's watertight writing. The only real genre diversion comes in the form of Rudy knows, but Betu pulls it off with flying colors, giving us character-led storytelling with an almost Green Day vibe to the rock instrumental. The landing is stuck with a synthy and slow rock closer, Life, whose lyrics I also love. Without a doubt, many of the most memorable vocal melodies of the year land all over this one. There is no way you listen to this without coming out with some earworms. Exemplary work, Betu. Top 5 time, oh my woofness. At number 5 is Russell Buck with Rave Pop. I am sure my high praise for this project is a surprise to nobody. This album was a hit with a greater furry community for good reason. Russell's production is punchy and exciting, with bass that goes off the walls crazy on tracks like the Brazil-influenced In the Doghouse, the squeaky and futuristic Evil Music for Bad Dogs, and a punchy rave banger, Bass Down Low. The Sydney Gishry interpolations on Just Be Competent and Eat You Up feel so well manipulated they become beasts of their own, with iconic drops that go insane. Even the minimalist drop on Fly With Me is pulled off masterfully, it somehow being one of the most electrifying moments for me despite it sounding lighter than the other more bombastic tracks. While Russell is usually just a DJ, we also do get new bits of singing from the dog ear himself on Too Many People and Same Place Different Time, both of which have lucky songwriting and super sweet lyrics. Without a doubt, Russell gave us the best EDM album of the year with Rave Pop. It is truly all killer and no filler. At number 4 is Furelia with Circular Rainbows. This is a mystical, smoky prog album with gorgeous, well-mixed vocals that remind me of Fleetwood Mac's. There is a lot to love here, from the many nice trans allegories in the lyrics to the guitars that sound amazing from the get-go on the swirling intro. Can you hear me? The mystical vibes continue on Circular Rainbows, which ends with a nasty guitar solo. In your mind, builds on this sound even more when it picks up with its hasty rhythms. Perhaps the most standout track of all for me is Call Valiant Hunter, not just for its gorgeous flutes and storytelling, but for its harmonies and the lonesome note that is simply one of the most breathtaking sounds I have heard all year. The multi-phase 10-minute prog closer, Please Tell Me Why, ends the album strong, it being full of detailed solos, nice vocals, and thoughtful lyrics. Overall, this album is full of nice variation while still feeling cohesive. Everything feels done with intention. What a strong showing from Floralia. We are finally at the top 3. Let's go! At number 3 is the Gender Eternal Light Review with Band in Arkansas. This album is full of beautifully melodic rock, often dabbling in its punk and country influences. Thematically, it features both political and non-political stories about trans life, particularly revolving around Arkansas. The album kicks off on a soothing note with the emotional, piano-led Mothers and Fathers. You could easily give a nod to other tracks for their beauty, like the pretty acoustic ballad, Tender Love, which features a psychedelic ending, the gorgeously sung slow burner, Now That I Am Not This, the deeply romantic and heartfelt, Bells, the intimate acoustic closer that is, Lullaby, the Bear and the Kitten, and perhaps the prettiest of all, the illustrative and natural feeling, Meditaire, which makes beautiful use of falsettos and pianos. I would like to give a special shout out to the vocalist for their performances as well, because on top of all these pretty tracks, they are able to pull off chilling screams on a track like Halitosis, which is a banger with a thrilling, emotional build. The way this album thrives in its delicateness only makes the more harrowing moments hit harder. What a beautiful and memorable record from back to front. We are down to our last 2. How exciting! At number 2 is Depth with Herdbound. This is a record that really reminds me of when Bandcamp was the main hub for the lo-fi indie rock scene that gave us classics like Car Seat Headrest. In spite of this album having that sort of lo-fi aesthetic, it is well mixed, and the writing is immaculate. Herdbound is a delicate record that thrives with its lyrics and storytelling, which you can pick up on right away with the intimate ballad, Coat. The instrumentation gets more detailed from here, with a dynamic, the mic choreographer and the accordionist playing Pretend, both of which feature bells and lovely vocal melodies. The fan favorite, Antler Crimes, is a cute banger with some of the most fun guitar work here, the arpeggiators really adding gas to the fire each time they kick in. After this, we settle back down with a dynamic slow burner, World of White, which has some extremely gratifying vocal and guitar work, followed by the subtle ballad, Deerxing, which has a lovely brass touch. This blends right into the closer, Contend, which ends the album on an electrifying high with its big guitars and group vocals. I cannot say enough about the intimacy and the songwriting you will hear on this project. What a truly special release! And now, the moment you have all been waiting for. It is time to reveal the Shuffle of #1 album of 2024. The honor goes to a behemoth of a record that somehow makes almost every minute feel epic, with its spacious production and exemplary songwriting. At number 1 is Floral Tattoo with the Circus Egotistica, or How I Spent Most of My Life as a Lost Cause. This is a DIY emo rock album that is massive in scope and sounds just as massive with how reverb heavy it is. There are amazingly climactic builds on so much of this project, and great writing and vocals to boot. Floral Tattoo delivering lots of potent lyrics about surviving, abuse and dealing with mental health issues. Each song here feels very distinct, while staying in line with the album's overall vibe. Determination, I Am Not a Hero, serving as a grand tone setter with its marching drums and crazy raw vocal delivery. The gigantic, mint chewing gum, etc. tries for some tempo experiments, while the harrowing Yeller tries some experimental rhythms, ending on a prog rock note. The warm slow burners, Old Friend, and Backyards both feel soft, but feature great builds. Idea Space gives us a sort of early 2000s groove, but is delivered like a 90s slam poem. The whole thing becomes very atmospheric around the midpoint. We get a straight-up emo instrumental on page 116 of The Perks of Being a Wallflower, with its character-filled lyrics, these vibes continuing on to The Resentful, The Secret Life of an American Teenage Vampire. I Died Again is a more low-key and dreamy emo cut, with an intense vocal that builds to some crazy shrieks. The Art Builder's Wife is devastating lyrically, starting slow and folky and ending with a gargantuan rock build. I would say there is an almost lingua ignota touch to some of the writing and vocal deliveries here. The Circus Egotistica and The Girl Who Cried Bad Wolf has some of the most heartbreaking lyrics about trans grief, but ends more hopefully, all tied together with a dynamic instrumental that gives me goosebumps. The finale, Just Don't Say Goodbye, I Hate Goodbyes, feels huge, in the way of My Chemical Romance track Mike, ending with insane screams and a more self-assuring message about trans identity. I was so impressed by this record, and every time I return to it, it never fails to blow me away. Floral Tattoo, you really outdid yourself, and I will be so excited to hear whatever you do next. You made my album of the year for 2024. Wow, what a crazy long video. Thank you to everybody who was willing to hear me bark and yap for this long. Woof. If you feel inclined, please comment what your furry album of the year was, even if it was not included in my list. The projects discussed will all be linked in the description. Be sure to support these artists on their Bandcamp pages, as that is the best way for indie musicians to make profit from their work. I hope you take the time to check out any of the albums I have listed here, as I truly do believe our community is full of so much talent. I will be so excited to compile an albums list for 2025 at the end of the year. With all that said, thank you for watching, furry friends. Shuffle Wuff signing out. Woof woof.